Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I want to talk about an influential New Thought author named Neville Goddard and the fascinating similarities between his teachings and the ancient philosophy of hermeticism. Neville Goddard's writings and lectures have had a huge impact on the New Thought and Law of Attraction movements. He was born in 1905 in Barbados and later emigrated to the United States, where he gave lectures on metaphysics and the power of imagination up until his death in 1972. Now, Hermeticism is an ancient Greco-Egyptian philosophy and collection of texts that discuss principles like mentalism, correspondence, vibration, and polarity. These writings date back over 2000 years and were attributed to the figure of Hermes Trismegistus. At first glance, the connection between Neville Goddard and Hermeticism may not be obvious, but when you really dive into Neville's teachings, you start to see some striking parallels. Now, in this video, I want to highlight three key similarities between Neville Goddard's teachings and Hermeticism: the power of imagination and mentalism, manifesting through spiritual laws, and the divine nature of man. The power of imagination and mentalism. A core teaching of Neville Goddard is that imagination is the key faculty for shaping and experiencing reality. He spoke again and again about the incredible generative power held in our imagination and our ability to experience and manifest the contents of our imagination. Neville believed that through intentionally harnessing the imagination, we can transform outer conditions and manifest our desires. This is because our imagination is the realm of pure potentiality. It is creative substance itself. Now, what's fascinating is that this principle of mentalism, the idea that the mind is the cause or source, let's say, of the material world, is a central component of the Hermetic teachings as well. The Hermetic text, the Kybalion, states the all is mind, the universe is mental. This sums up the Hermetic view that the mental plane of ideas and imagination is the blueprint that eventually manifests physically. The physical world springs from seeds in the fertile soil of the imagination. Just like Neville emphasized the power of imagination, Hermeticism sees the mind as the wellspring of reality. From this perspective, mastering and focusing the imagination is critical for conscious creation of circumstances, manifesting through spiritual laws. Neville also frequently discussed various spiritual laws and forces that determine how manifestation occurs. Two key ones are the law of assumption and the law of consciousness. For Neville, the law of assumption held that we must assume within ourselves the feeling and experience of our desire already been fulfilled in order to bring it to fruition on the physical plane. Our assumptions and beliefs will be outpictured, so we must carefully choose what we assume to be true. He also stressed the law of consciousness, which says that our external world will always reflect our inner state of being. By transforming our inner consciousness and adopting an elevated state of awareness, we can transform what happens in our lives. Neville saw these laws as immutable forces woven into the fabric of reality, and he believed that by understanding and working in accordance with them, we could more effortlessly manifest. Well, interestingly enough, these types of spiritual laws are also a really big part of Hermeticism. The 7 Hermetic principles are themselves considered divine laws that explain how energy takes form. The principles give insights into how spiritual causation works. For example, the law of correspondence is the Hermetic idea that what happens on the inner planes of the mind is reflected on the outer planes of matter, very similar to Neville's law of consciousness. And the law of mentalism emphasizes that our thoughts, assumptions and beliefs shape what manifests, in alignment with Neville's law of assumption. Neville Goddard and Hermeticism both promote understanding universal laws of manifestation so that we can create conditions consciously and intentionally. the divine nature of man. The last connection I will highlight is that both Neville Goddard and the hermeticists emphasized the divine nature of humankind. Neville firmly believed that God exists within every person. Our imagination and ability to consciously create mark us as divine beings. We are all God individualized, and we need only to recognize our true divine identity. Neville wrote, "The Father's equivalent is the Son bearing witness of himself." Here he is saying that we are of the same essence as whatever we call the divine. Hermeticism contains the same idea, that humanity has a spark of the divine within. The hermetic text Corpus Hermeticum reads, "For God does not ignore mankind, on the contrary, he recognizes him fully and wishes to be recognized. For mankind, this is the only deliverance, the knowledge of God." Both philosophies want us to recognize our highest spiritual identity as limitless creators, made in the image of the Absolute. So in summary, we've seen there are striking crossovers between Neville Goddard's teachings and the principles of Hermeticism when it comes to imagination, spiritual laws, and the divine nature of humanity. The roots are ancient, but the parallels are fascinating. Now, why does this matter? So you may be wondering, why does this even matter? What's the significance of the similarities between the two traditions? Well, there are a few different reasons the connection is meaningful. First, it shows that Neville was tapping into universal principles. He wasn't just making things up. The teachings clearly resonate across cultures and throughout time. Second, the parallels emphasize the importance of concepts like mentalism, spiritual laws, and human divinity. When two unconnected traditions highlight the same ideas, it's a sign we should pay attention. And finally, it's just nice to see how spiritual and esoteric threads weave through history. It shows the mystical core of these ideas and how they re-emerge in new forms. Neville brought an ancient wisdom to the modern world. So in closing, understanding how Neville Goddard's teachings align with historic Hermeticism helps us give us perspective. It draws out key principles, shows their universality, and reveals the mystical depths behind Neville's ideas. There are certainly more parallels and nuances we could unpack between Neville and Hermeticism, but hopefully this video has illuminated some of the core crossovers when it comes to the creative power of the mind, the function of spiritual laws, and the inherent divinity within every person. Now let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, remember to like and subscribe for more content like this. Now thank you all for watching and have an amazing rest of your day.